Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Kendric Series, another replay cast, coming at you with two awesome players that we can highlight today. We get the chance to watch JohnnyCage in the red trunks representing the human race, fighting it out against RaZZoRMaN in the yellow trunks, going for the Orcish race as per usual. And JohnnyCage, I want to mention to you guys and introduce him a little bit more because he's going to be our newest challenger for the Fight Night, coming up for Hitman as an opponent. And, you know, Orc versus Human is such a cool matchup when we talk about Hitman in particular, because he quite famously stated in the past that it's his weakest matchup, and JohnnyCage easily considered to be one of the top 5 humans in Europe. I would say probably just a tier below players like Thorazane and Hawk. But if JohnnyCage shows up in top condition, you know, in top form, he can really just take down anyone. And we're excited to see how he fares, like how he does really in this matchup, you know. He's going to play on Fight Night against Hitman, who's an Orc, and he's going to play against RaZZoRMaN, who is an Orc right now. So let's see what he has in his repertoire and do some pre-Fight Night really analysis, right? So let's see. Goes for the Archmage, of course. That is no big surprise. That is still, of course, the backbone of almost every human army. We're fighting it out on Last Refuge, by the way. One of my personal favorite maps. It's really well balanced, in my opinion. There's no crazy, funky shenanigans that can sometimes impair or impact the course of a game, like Concealed Hill, for example, with the fountains, or Echo Isles with just a very predictable pattern of where you can go. And once you miss or you make too many missteps, it's very hard to come back on those maps. Last Refuge is quite big, it's quite nice, and as such, we're going to see a very fast creep-in opening here coming in from JohnnyCage. Also goes for a scouting tower immediately. I think that is no surprise, really. A lot of Orcs these days, they sometimes go for the early game harass, maybe even with a Farseer. Speaking of which, we're going to see the Farseer coming in hot and heavy with a Thrall skin. By the way, we're still on Reforged, of course. This is, to be exact, our second Reforged Kendric Series. So, yeah, it's an exciting journey these days. You know, we have, I think, gone past the initial outrage, and people still probably feeling not 100% lukewarm on this new client, but I think with every week that passes, myself personally, I'm getting more accustomed, I'm getting more used to the new graphics, so hopefully we're not going to have too many hiccups here. Footies now being produced as well. The scouting tower is now transformed into an arcane tower. Looks like the Farseer is trying to interrupt and stall this process as much as he can, but to no avail, really. It's already there, and that of course means that summoned units, the Feral Spirits, they're going to take additional damage. Mana is being zapped on units that have it, so really this harass is not going to accomplish anything other than maybe, you know, getting a little bit of harvesting time away from the human player. But this could already be some free experience for the Archmage. Of course, if the tower kills it, not so much. So yeah, RaZZoRMaN is still sitting on level 1, but naked, hasn't really gotten anything done. He did get some healing salves and a replenishment potion, a clarity potion, so that's really good for him. So he'll be able to at least do some creeping here. Tries to go for a green spot in the bottom half of the map, so in the human side of the map. But look at JohnnyCage's movement pattern, by the way. He didn't go through the bottom where there was still a Feral Spirit and a Grunt to scout things out. He goes through the top only to pierce into the back of RaZZoRMaN's forces, and he already goes for the Creepjack. And this is just beautiful timing, really. Beautiful timing. Gets that level 2 as well with a funky Creepjack, and this is really just the best way to open for JohnnyCage possible. This ensnare could hurt just a little bit though, but it doesn't last long enough on the footy to allow RaZZoRMaN to take it down. Resummons the wolves, by the way, before one of them gets taken down. Very well done. But yeah, man, this Archmage harass is no joke, especially with the Claws of Attack +6. This bad boy is going to hit like a truck. So, this was one of those moments, man. RaZZoRMaN probably multitasking, trying to go for a little bit of macro play, tries to go for a burrow, something in his base, and oftentimes, for a second or two, the hero will stand still in the middle of the map, and this is something he can't really allow to happen against this Archmage with this much of a health deficit, you want to say. Oh, I was just going to say, do you see that healing salve? The Water Elemental is trying to interrupt that healing effect. So well done. Archmage, by the way, didn't go for any items yet, so no boots, no TP staff or anything. Quite cleverly done from RaZZoRMaN, actually trying to intercept the Archmage and body block it. So yeah, it's really just a big old harass party. Both heroes are trying to keep each other as low as possible. It seems like RaZZoRMaN is the first one to go back to normal creeping, regular creeping schedule. And he's actually hunted JohnnyCage's Archmage quite well over the map, far away from any other green spots that is now his for the taking. And finally, the Archmage is getting, the Farseer is getting some much needed healing done. Has a lot of replenishment, has a lot of Scroll of Speeds here as well to get that healing in. But it really seems like in this early phase, you can really see how both players are just using their units and their forces to really just right-click on the enemy hero and force them into retreat. This Footman, by the way, is potentially first blood in terms of real units. Yeah, these footies are pretty much hurt quite a bit. Thankfully, there's no level 2 for Thrall for RaZZORMan's Farseer, because Chain Lightning otherwise could have already been a big game changer. We see a Torrent Totem coming in, by the way. No Beastry. Yes, Beastry actually in the bottom half of the map, so pretty good, pretty diverse. So we're going to see Spirit Walkers very likely, and some Raiders, perhaps. Don't think we're going to see any air, right? That is, against human, I always feel like a very risky thing to do, with the potential for Riflemen or maybe even a Flying Machine here and there. Double Arcane Sanctum, as per usual for JohnnyCage. Going to get those first Sorceresses, those first Priest out. And man, shoutouts to these Spirit Wolves, man. They're really doing a great job scouting. RaZZORMan is really using them very well to hunt down hurt units as well. He goes for this little pull here, so he doesn't have to fight in this choke point if the human were to be nearby. So he drags those ogres out a little bit, allowing for a safer creeping location. Of course, he has the Tauren Chieftain as his secondary choice in the mix already. Tauren Chieftain very good when it comes to keeping all these casters in the back, those potential rifles that could be added later on as well, in check with Mighty War Stomps. What is the human going to go for? No Mountain King. He actually goes for double range Blood Mage with Archmage. Mage power, if you will. And holy crap, he needs to be very careful about those footies. Sends in the Water Elite first as a tank, of course, so very diligently done here. And goes for Banish first. Banish, of course, makes things easier when it comes to creeping. It works kind of similar to a CC effect, a very long-lasting CC effect against neutral units or non-heroic units, of course, in particular. And these things, once they're banished, they will take extra damage from magical attacks and magic abilities. So I'm not sure if we're going to see a Flame Strike maybe, or if the Archmage at some point is just going to reskill into Blizzard, which oftentimes makes great sense, especially when there's Spirit Walkers in there. So yeah, let's see, really. We have a couple of Raiders, a couple of Spirit Walkers being added into the mix, so a very well-rounded, healthy Orc unit mix, I would say. Fast forward Voodoo Lounge as well. Very curious positioning of the building. Spirit Walker Adept training coming through. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see this Blood Mage in action. Of course, this is also a fabulous counter to the TC. Now, at first, you might be like, hey, why is a low health, squishy hero in the back a counter to the TC? Shouldn't it be the other way around? But, of course, you have Siphon Mana for the Blood Mage. Siphon Mana, you can sap the mana away from the TC, so his number of stomps that he drops into the backline is going to be crippled quite severely.
Players' forces are under attack.
Speaking of the TC, by the way, the Sad Cow has to basically go into a corner and chill because he desperately needs the level 3 on the Farseer. RaZZORMan, that is. Now, are we going to see level 2 Lightning or level 2 Wolves? That is going to be the question, because at some point, humans will add Spellbreakers into their army composition. Very likely, at least. So in the very late stages of the game, Spellbreakers, they take away the Wolves and basically render the Farseer very useless within those team fights. Farseer in general is a hero that usually excels in the early to mid game, but once we enter the late stages of the game, you know, level 4, 5, and beyond, it really doesn't pack that much of a punch anymore. I saw that book. Johnny, I saw that. During Fight Night, you better expect Twitch chat to go crazy if you miss those +2 tunes, okay? So yeah, TC, of course, the exact opposite, which is why these two heroes work very well together. You basically have a steep power curve throughout the entire game. Farseer early and TC late. Extra mana, always appreciated. Let's check out some of the items here, by the way. We have a Flute of Accuracy on Orcs. That is probably one of the items they don't want to have at all, unless they're going Kiwi-Kaki style with Mass Headhunters. Then it's probably one of the best items you can find. But other than that, really, the majority of the Orcish army is melee heavy. So he's probably going to sell the Flute of Accuracy. Kodo Beast in the mix. Now, what do we have on the human side of things? Double claws on the Archmage. Actually quite packing a punch here. Healing Scroll, he baits out the Ogre Lord, but now we're going to see a creep check here. Both players contesting each other and trying to go after this massive creep, one of the most valuable ones in the game. They're actually ignoring it for now. The Ogres plus the other neutral creeps that have sided with the Orc for now. This is not a good space for JohnnyCage to fight in. Shockwave actually coming through, so no Thunderstomp. It is just mass AoE damage, trying to go for all these squishy units in the back. And we still see the Ogres, by the way, taking down the Kodos, fighting on multiple fronts. Chain Lightning rattling through, and JohnnyCage using unit after unit. It's not looking too good for him. There's not really a lot of oomph left in this army anyways. Very heavy on casters, just only now some Spellbreakers in the mix. And the heroes, of course, Archmage, Bloodmage, trying to zap the mana away as much as possible. But this is looking like a lost cause for the human army, or is it? Finally, we have some militias in here as well, reinforcing the front lines. Spellcasters in the back still casting, and it looks like it's RaZZORMaN actually who finally has to pull the trigger and has to go back to base because his heroes had taken so much damage. Great fight for the human after all. It looked a little bit dicey after losing so many units early on due to the channel, the Chain Lightning, and the Shockwave combo. By the way, this Ogre never got taken down. So now JohnnyCage, as the laughing winner of this fight, may finally take down the big item and add it to his repertoire. What's it going to be, though? There's huge items, huge auras that can be found here. What is it? It is a Cloak of Flames. You can find auras. You can find Cloak of Flames. Pretty useless, of course, if you have ranged heroes in particular. So that is definitely going to be one for the shop. Sending in that scouting water elemental only to find the Great Hall. Very good timing for JohnnyCage. Took a lot of damage from creeping these ogres though, so I don't think he's in any way, shape, or form to really contest this. Yeah, let's see. He will find that Tome of Strength. Or is he? Thank you. And he sold the Cloak of Flames, like I said. Not really the item you want to go for. On heroes like a Mountain King or a TC, it can be good, but even there, oftentimes the item doesn't really find the recognition that the developers had in mind when they created it. Just feels like it doesn't do enough, you know? Sure, the damage is nice, but it's usually out-traded or out-healed by most races and what they have, you know? So, personally, I like the item. I think it's very flashy, but more often than not, is it really just going to be a liability? And you can definitely work with the gold you sell, like 250 gold, I think it is, or 200 gold. It's very valuable, actually. Now we see no human expansion. We see a wolf here actually scouting in. And like I said, it's going to be level 2 Chain Lightning for the Farseer. Level 2 Shockwave now in the mix as well. Level 4 Tower and Chieftain. This cow is not going to be trifled with. This is looking like a very, very strong Orc army that is currently trying to make things happen. Taking down some workers, taking down the shop, taking down the weakest buildings here, trying to go for some farms too, and basically causing a massacre in the backline of the human army, human base. Of course, JohnnyCage knows what's happening in his base, but he's trying to desperately kick this expansion. His damage with all those casters is relatively poor, though, so it's going to take him a long time. And I'm not sure if with all that damage being dealt to his main base, even if he kicks that expansion, that he can recover. Going in for the TP right now, RaZZORMaN, though, if he doesn't want to commit to a fight because of his heroes being low on mana, he can just TP out, you know? He dealt all the damage that he wanted to. He's left the human base dry on workers. Is he trying to kick the main building? He's trying to kick the keep. With the Raiders and the Grunts being mostly unharmed, he is probably going to be able to do it. This is a make or break point for RaZZORMaN, a point of no return. He's committed so hard into this, he's trying to pull it all the way through. Now saving the Farseer, who has the TP. You cannot miss the TP here, my friend. Okay, he pulls the trigger, he pulls the emergency brake, and goes back to base. And curiously enough, he didn't even lose that many units. So this is a ton of damage for JohnnyCage. True, he did kill the expansion, but at what cost? At what cost was this worth it? I think the next major clash between the two players is going to tell us the truth. Tell us how it went. Of course, JohnnyCage knows exactly, man. I'm so far behind right now economically, I cannot play a normal game anymore. I need to go for a counterattack. I know that my opponent still has low mana heroes and hurt units. I need to basically break my way through. Brute force my way in. Oh, that Farseer, though, took the brute force a little bit too literally here. He's getting banished right now. Very nice. Gets disenchanted, though. Gets banished again and has a healing scroll. That's the only thing he has, though. Human forces are trying to buy some time for their leader, for their first hero. But is it going to be enough? Did JohnnyCage go too harsh, go too crazy into this counterattack, going head first into his doom and demise. These banish and the counter dispels are so strong. Level 4 Blood Mage. Is it going to be enough though? How long can he keep this up? How much mana is left on those Spirit Walkers as well? Banish after banish is coming through, debated until the end of time, but these Orcish forces, they're looking so good. They're looking so healthy as well. The TC alone, level 4, is a beast, is a savage fighter in the front line here. Invul Potion transferred over to the Blood Mage. To the Archmage, but the Blood Mage is now getting focused as well. JohnnyCage has to dance the tango of evasion. The banish is coming through yet again, but is it going to be enough? So much speed, so much recklessness in the forces of RaZZoRMaN. He can smell victory, and he's not afraid to go for it. Chop, though, could be once again the healing, the saving grace for the human player. Goes for another healing scroll as well. Can he buy an Invul Potion? No, he cannot, but he banishes once again. JohnnyCage is fighting like a lion, but there is simply no damage in his army anymore. All those Orc units with that Spirit Link, they're looking so healthy. The level 4 Archmage is falling. Level 4 Blood Mage might join his brother in death. And that should be GG. JohnnyCage, the upcoming challenger in the Fight Night, did not make it this time. Let's see if he can bounce back and take the W against Hitman. It was a real pleasure to present this game to you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I can't wait to welcome you back for the Fight Night. This time happening on Sunday, by the way. We had to make a little bit of a schedule change because I won't be home on Friday. So same time, same place, just on a Sunday. And yeah, guys, enjoy all the content, all the future content here on Heroes Hearth. If you did enjoy it, feel free to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Until then, thank you very much for watching and see you around. Peace.